1, 2.
So is the guy coming in here?
Oh no, it's me.
Alright.
I wish, but I don't have the funds to fly out here. Well, actually, not that far. If I recall, it's not that bad.
3 hours away, maybe near the border of Texas. And, like 5 hours. I mean, that could be only complete in.
I don't know how much like cybersecurity experience anyone had.
Cybersecurity too right now. Bro.
I have my associate's degree and like I got good grades to try and get internships with a good grade, and then just didn't get any of them because there's only like 2 available. Well, here I can get internship set up because they have a bunch of ones with like State Farm and Cisco that
Well,
send me stuff on the
if it helps, UHCL has a deal with the KBR, the #1 contracting company for NASA. They're having an event Wednesday, the 27th of September, 11:30 a.m. till 1 p.m. And I say that because we had a student in Web Fundamentals, Veronica, who started off as an intern with them.
Yeah,
In 6 months, she's actually right now working
she's
for
working
NASA,
on NASA.
cybersecurity analyst. So
I was talking with her and then like, I'm assuming if she just moves on because she has a real life.
yeah, I was
Right.
gonna say you'll come back for your grad student, right? Like, I'm
No,
not reading.
I'm not pushing that envelope. I just like,
But you can't even come back for a grad, master's in IT. That's not a thing. You'd have to go for, what is it?
Software engineering.
You could do that.
You couldn't do that. But that's like high, you have to have
No,
all your math,
you can't.
you have to have all your mathematics and you have to have comp sci.
Man, guess I'll never be an engineer. What was I gonna do?
I say, screw it, do it anyway. Who needs a degree? Come on.
Hello, Emiliano. How are you? Right, let me check if that link I posted actually works. I assume it did, because I haven't shared the link with absolutely anybody.
I can't say half the stuff I would say now that I know I'm getting recorded. Can't have it on the books.
How's the sound?
Recording in progress.
1, 2, 1. That sounds all right. Maybe I'll just text them just to be sure.
Yeah, so
How they go to my job thing.
All righty then, I think everything's set. How's everything on your end over there, Mr. Tucker?
It looks good, but I can't show y'all my my little home lab I have behind me because my
Oh.
is like right up front and center.
We can if you like.
Yeah. Like real quick, I'd like to show y'all. All right, can you see my screen?
The Charizard in the background.
Yeah. So behind me, it goes all the way to the floor from top to bottom. This is actually the newest one I've got. It's an old computer that I had sitting around where it's got a Linux distribution called Proxmox, where it's a VM hypervisor, and it runs 24/7 instead of having the server equipment on that shoots my electric bill through the moon. I have that on and I can do what I want with it. If I need more processing power, because this is like 16 gigabytes, and down there it's got like 40 gigabytes and enterprise grade equipment. But if I need to do something small and simple, like over the weekend, I've got 3 like children. So I've got 4 children, right? And 10, 7, 3, and like a 6-month-old. And my wife and I we were all playing Minecraft and Java, and this hosted the server that we were on. The one down here is a open VPN server. This has open VPN on it, a VM, but if I'm running the equipment down there, then I'll have this on so that I can connect to the entire stack. This is my printer. This is the network tap. So when the servers are on, and with this, the virtual machine's data network goes into this machine, and I can run like Wireshark, or I can see all the packets, use Wireshark, man in the middle, HTTPS connections using this. And the equipment down here runs all sorts of virtual machines. I've got 3 servers here. One's a Windows Server 2022. The other one is VMware ESXi, and another one is a Zen server. And this is my little rack here. It's got its own ISP. I'm getting a really good deal on a Verizon's little 5G home internet. They get it for like $25 a month. And should I lose power, then at least I can throw that on a battery backup, and then I can at least work while I'm in the dark. That is my equipment. I've actually used it for work a couple of times. We were in the process of upgrading our domain controllers from 2012 to 2019. And in order to make sure that the whole process works, I brought up the servers down there, because that's before I had that one. I brought up the servers, put Windows Server 2012, upgraded domain controllers all day, all night. That was a long week, but we were able to prove that it worked, and we did it without any problems. So that is my little presentation. I've got a bookshelf next to that one that goes all the way from server and system administration all the way to coding and security. Any questions?
No, I just wanted to yet again say thank you for being able to make time on a Friday to be able to help us out with the guest speaker event. It's awesome. It's incredible. My name is Michael Sevilla. I'm actually the president of the HawkNet Cybersecurity Club here at the University of Houston, Clear Lake campus. And and also to everybody watching virtually. This is also being recorded, so anyone watching at a later time, Dave, thank you all so much, and everyone in person for showing up. Thank you. If I may ask, where are you? If I'm correct, is it Louisiana where you live, or which?
So I live in a city called Thomasville, North Carolina. Where I'm about 20 minutes from Greensboro and an hour from Charlotte, right off of Interstate 85. So it's a little small town in a rural county. But we're next to the the largest cities in North Carolina.
16 hours away. I don't think Greensboro.
Kind of hard to hear whoever's talking.
Sorry. I think we're all using Mike's microphone, so.
Yeah, it's a weird setup. Basically, my laptop's right here, but it's hooked up via HDMI to a projector right here. Massive thing. It's quite a cool thing to have here. I guess if I may ask, what got you into cybersecurity? What was it that sparked that small little fire, saying, "This is what I want to do. This is what I'm interested. This is the field I want to be in. This is what I like doing." I guess if you'd like to go into a bit of.
Yeah, sure. Well, 1 second. Let me turn this light off, because ever since I got this laptop, this light has been like way too bright. Give me 1 second. So much better. That is so much better. So I guess to start off a little bit about me, my name is Brandon Tucker Sr. As I said, got a whole family. I've been in IT for about a decade, not a decade, I've been for a dozen years. I've done everything from mainframe operations, COBOL development, debug and assembly, Windows, Linux administration. I'm doing DevOps right now, doing network operations, security operations, uh, television repair. That's how I started my IT career. So I've pretty much done it all. What got me into computer security was actually kind of funny. So when I was a child, my mother, we had a computer. It was Windows 98 machine, and it's actually sitting behind in the back there. She would put she would tell me, "Oh, you can't use a computer," or because I may have put a password on it, and blah, 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 blah. And I was like, all right. So I'm sitting up there on the computer on the password screen, and come to find out, if you hit escape, then the password box goes away and you can log in. And then if you boot in the safe mode, you won't have a password at all. So she did that to me one night, and then she found out that I could actually do that. She put the password on there. You can't get on the computer because you don't got the password. And like 30 minutes later, she came back, and there I am on the computer, playing a little computer game. After that, I was working at a call center for Samsung, doing Samsung computing products like Chromebooks, tablets, laptops, printers, and fax machines. We had a program where it was like the Samsung System Restore. It's the recovery drive, and they had a program that you could download off the website where I don't know, it like installed something. I don't even remember because it's been like too long since I even thought about it. But me and my coworker were arguing back and forth over what exactly it did, and that was the time where I pulled out IDA Pro and looked at the instructions that it was doing, and I was able to go back to them the next day and be like, "This is exactly what it's doing." I didn't reverse engineer the whole thing, but looking at the strings of the binary file, you could see, you can piece together what it's doing. So the love of taking apart something, learning how it works, and almost being able to put it back together, that's what really got me into computer security. If I were to say I'm more interested in like malware analysis, reverse engineering, vulnerability mitigation, that's what I enjoy the most. I don't like policies. I don't like writing procedures. I barely like the paperwork I have to do in the first place. So that's what got me into computer security.
That's awesome. Me personally, it's just about, I guess, helping others against, as you all, everyone should know, cybersecurity is a huge thing at the moment. It's only rising, it's only expanding. Someone shared an article with me about MGM Grand Casino recently being in a cybersecurity related situation, and they're losing, I believe, millions and millions of dollars due to it. It's not just big companies like them, it's also everyday people. It's people even with their own family. I'm sure you've received them. I know I have. I think everyone has received them. Hey, you just won a free gift card. We just need your social security number to make sure it's you. You just won a free trip to the Bahamas. We just need the last 3 digits on your credit card to verify it's you for payment. Phishing, it's some of the worst, and at least for me, it inspires me to get in this field and help counter that and help folks out.
So I see you've got a classmate of yours next to you. What's his name?
That is Mr. Ryan Pierce right here.
Hello. Yeah, name's Ryan Pierce.
Well, what gets you into security?
So I was very young when we had a family computer and whatnot, and I just had loved, computer games and everything like that at first. When I got into college, that's when I actually started learning how to program. Well, technically high school, because the high school I went to was this high school / college. Basically took college classes while you're taking high school courses. And I took a video game programming course, and I had just loved coming up with code and writing code that you could see how it worked and functioned, and you were able to make the character move and do certain things, and basically give it parameters and everything like that. And then I just started going deeper into the whole field, learning HTML and JavaScript and CSS, and then going into Java and Python, just learning all the other different languages, and then coming to security and everything like that. When you do that, all your family is always asking you for help. And so that's where I was like, okay, now I need to learn how to do everything. So now I started learning like cybersecurity and how to help them with that, whatnot. And if I had to say the biggest spark when it happened was definitely when I was in high school as well, working at Best Buy, and I worked in the computer hardware section just as a salesperson. But I actually took time to learn everything about the computers, CPUs, GPUs, the RAM, all that stuff, and how they differentiate not just on price, but on actual value, like how well is this going to run based on the price, and trying to help people find that. Because when I was there, you're basically just taught, hey, sell, it doesn't matter. But I actually wanted to give a product that I thought would be valuable. So I was always telling them, don't buy all-in-ones, and go buy laptops and buy this type of laptop if you're looking for a cheap one, because it has an SSD rather than the hard drive. And so, yeah, it was just kind of like a slow growth, and now I'm where I'm at. But definitely want to be in this field, definitely see it as a future.
Well, I'll tell you, you picked the right time to get into this field. You had mentioned MGM. Actually, I saw a job posting earlier today. Actually, I was off of work, and it was $100 an hour for a Red Hat Linux engineer for MGM, 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 3 weeks, for $24,000 in 3 weeks. I mean, that's some pretty crazy stuff.
Yeah, definitely a good field to get into right now because of the market right now. Definitely the call for more security and whatnot.
So I see another one of your classmates in the back. Is it just y'all three, or are there more?
There's more, the camera doesn't pick up.
You can't see them. No, there is
Okay.
over there.
Y'all want to go around and say why y'all want to get into security?
Yeah, I'll move a little closer.
We're all lighting chairs real quick.
Well, actually, I kind of started more on the programming side. I guess it kind of really started in middle school, mostly because of Minecraft, wanting to make Minecraft mods. And so that kind of, I got to see what Java looked like. And so I took like Java classes in high school and stuff like that. I did see, and then like kind of one day in one of my classes, I saw someone with like the little school laptops that they gave us. I saw him, I don't remember exactly what he did, but he like booted off of like a Ubuntu USB and did something with like the Windows files on there to basically like give himself admin rights or something. I don't remember what he did. But then after that, he booted back into Windows and was installing games, and people thought that was crazy. So that was really interesting to me because I was like 15, 14 at the time. I was like, what the heck was going on there? That's basically it.
Okay.
Correct. So I've kind of always been a menace to society. I was Well, there was you know, this is sort of like really early on, there was someone who was like being annoying in an online game, and he was basically, he was kind of a script kiddie himself, but basically he was doing the mistake, he was basically going around and like downloading people's like stuff off of their computer using like some tools in the game and some other things, like just. And because he was downloading stuff, I got him to download my my like password logger, and I got access to his like Steam account, and I like locked him out. I told him he had to stop. And then it continues on, is my friend's like mom, his like mom's girlfriend started like putting all these like protections on the internet because she was just angry at him for some reason. I didn't really know why, but I showed him how to like spoof his MAC address, because it wasn't like a really good like internet thing. It basically just blocked the MAC address on the computer. So I just had him change his computer with Samsung like washing machine or something, and then he kept getting back online, and it started to make her like angrier and angrier. It was really funny. But you know, I've always been kind of doing stuff to get around authority, and that's sort of why I'm like, I know how a lot of the stuff works, so I also know how to like stop it at the same time. And I already have an associate's in cybersecurity, but kind of the college I was at only really had very minimal internship opportunities, so I'm moving over here, moving a lot of my credits and like talking with faculty to kind of have some of my things don't count. Even though it's like I've worked with SQL before and with servers before and with all of these like labs, but a lot of it doesn't count because it's not the standardized version they have over here. But the names are like nearly identical for the same courses. And I plan on getting some internships and working with you know, companies and showing what I know already. I've built computers and servers growing up. I run my own Minecraft server, and I just sort of play with friends. I have to it's modded, and I have to continuously like fix things, because earlier in I think it was like May, somewhere around that time, all the mods, the place where you get mods from got hacked, and they had like a thing where it would like inject itself into other mods. So if you downloaded any mods onto your thing, it would like essentially what it was trying to do is it was trying to like get people's like Bitcoin information. So I wasn't really affected by it. But it was trying to do that and trying to like steal money, which wasn't like, I didn't have like anything on my server, but I got, you know, had to fix that. And then there's another thing where the standardization of like how all the mods are created allowed another exploit, and that was like 2 months after. So I had to go back and patch that. But I don't have people joining or playing on the server that are like nefarious, because they're all like my friends. But it's still like it's something I dislike. I dislike having, you know, my server open, even though it's using like a thing rerouting. I don't like it that, you know, someone could, you know, figure out a way if they tried hard enough, you know. But it's that constant need to evolve things and self-improve it that makes me like, there's always something to do. You know, there's always a way to make it better. That's why I really like the field. There's always something to do or improve, or you know, there's a way to recover stuff too. You know, then there's so many workarounds. You know, I could go on and on. I have a lot of stuff that I like about the field. But you know, I'll move on. I'll let the last person.
There's some online as well that can speak afterwards.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
I grew up really like loving math, and I was kind of like math focused. Went to community college, like pursued mathematics, and then I kind of had a friend who was a computer science guy, and he like recommended I check it out, so I did, and really fell in love with like the programming aspect. So I was kind of focused on that for the first 2 years. I took a computer security elective just for fun, There was more like photography and stuff like that, so. I really fell in love with like that, those kind of aspects, ended up studying for my Security Plus, got that, and then, I got this past summer, I had an internship for a company that provided like cybersecurity products to industrial control systems. Um, And that was really cool, and then I just, this week, started, a job with AT&T as a SOC analyst. So, just really excited for that. Yeah.
So when you were a SOC analyst, was it just strictly, was it ticket jockey or eyes on glass, or you was actually doing more?
Just started this week. I'm in like 8-week training course. But it's like a queue, like you go and do the queue and you're daily involved.
When I was working for the SOC, all we did was, if we got an alert, we created a ticket, and that was it. That was just the most boring job.
No, I went through some today with the trainer and like you investigate, you can like open investigations yourself, stuff like that, and just do a little more research to see if it's actually nefarious or false positive or stuff like that.
Okay. I say we got some people online. Is that right?
Yes, if anyone online would like to go ahead, give a little intro to themselves, why they, find the field interesting, want to get in the field or anything, you're more than welcome to go ahead. Anyone online is interested.
Can y'all hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I joined earlier and then my camera decided to poop the bed, so I had to rejoin. So my interest in cybersecurity kind of started in 2017. So in 2017, I unfortunately my uncle was murdered, and so dealing with the whole process, being involved with the Houston Police Department. It kind of got me into criminal justice. I pursued an act of criminal justice. I worked with my local police in Pearland as one of their assistants, and then I kind of realized that I had more of a passion for technology, and so I wanted to go into technology with programming, with AI, and then as well as cybersecurity. And I had an internship up in Dallas, of course, that helped me widen the whole thing about cybersecurity and networking. I also got in touch with a agent with the CISA, that him and I are kind of sending emails back and forth. But the reason why I've been doing cybersecurity is, everything is evolving in technology. We have mobile devices that are now becoming AI. We have self-driving cars, and with life progressing, so does crime. And Michael had mentioned that Las Vegas, MGM and a bunch of other these big time casinos got hit with a virus attack. And I've been keeping up with the news, and that's been spreading because a lot of those casinos own cruise liners and a lot of other things. So cybersecurity is an essential. It is a necessity for everything. So that's kind of how I am with it. So.
One thing to add to that, so I know MGM got hacked. However, one of our competitors, called Rapatoni MLS, I work for a company that's in the real estate market, and they were down for 13 days, and it caused a lot of problems with people trying to buy and sell houses.
Oh yeah. In Dallas, we had a recent cyber attack in the city of Dallas. It hit the city infrastructure, and fortunately, my team, we were like in my internship team, we didn't have to handle that. But some of our resources said, it was a bad attack. So, I mean, it's horrible that this is the way the world is, but you just gotta keep fighting. So, but that's me. So.
Okay. Was that Michael?
Pierce.
No, it's Pierce. Yeah, first name Pierce.
Well, the person in the next. So I
Yeah.
see Michael
Michael
here.
G.
so-
You can go ahead if you'd like to.
Yeah,
I'd be away from their,
If not, we do have someone else, I believe, Emiliano, if, you'd like to go next, you're more than welcome to.
Testing. Is it working?
yes, we can hear you.
Gotcha. All right, thank you very much. So basically how I got into cybersecurity was just I like grown up around computers. Me and my peers, we would honestly use computers a lot, but I wasn't really thinking about like things like computer programming or IT or cybersecurity until like my teenage years to where at some point I got into like old video games and whatnot, and I remember like one of these days I was just curious to see about like how I could refurbish and like open up one of these old consoles. So I owned like a Game Boy Color and a couple games, and I was just curious on like what the inside looked like, how the display was connected through a ribbon cable to like the motherboard and like all the contacts. So I basically was just looking up online like how repairs were done and what type of like problems you could you know see with such old hardware, and that led to me at some point just opening like my own Game Boy up and just cleaning it with like a Q-tip and isopropyl alcohol, cleaning the contacts. And also overall being interested in like just more interested into computer hardware and also software. So as time went on and as I like was getting close to completing high school, I was taking courses on computer programming, on how to actually like do computer programming. And I was also just getting interested into things like OPSEC and like the whole like movement for privacy and security. And I've just been gardening like gathering all this information that I believe is going to help me find like where I want to like take my career in the cybersecurity field.
Okay. Is that everybody?
Besides Michael Gonzalez, but.
Okay.
Yeah.
He did what?
I have a follow-up, but where some people have like, they've taken apart stuff, has anyone ever jailbroken something? Cause that's a good time, especially when like, most of the time when you jailbreak, like, I remember, the 3DS, you could, there was like a submarine game on it, it was like a submarine, like World War II game, and you could, if you got the right like files on the SD card, you could boot up the submarine game, open like the friends list on it, and like crash the entire system, and then it would reboot in like its own operating system. There's that stuff's so much fun. There's just like there's just vulnerabilities and things that you think are completely like completely innocuous. You have no idea what vulnerabilities something can have. Like a friends list in a submarine game on the 3DS. I think eventually they removed it off of the store, but you can still, if you have an old version of Ocarina of Time, there's also a vulnerability in that. But amazing stuff. That's why, in this environment where things can be connected to the internet and updated, you can always kind of patch this stuff that you can't do on like old hardware.
Yeah, that's a good point to bring up. All these connected devices nowadays, how much of it is actually tested to be secure? Like, why does my toaster need to connect to the internet? Or why does my refrigerator need to play YouTube videos, right? That's just one extra way for somebody to just be in your house and
Yeah,
nobody
yeah.
cares.
Yeah, I in my internship, I was monitoring firewalls, and I'd see a live view of all the pings, and most of the time those were bots. So, and that was just on a network. I mean, can't imagine if there's any firewalls on, and like you said, on connected refrigerators, toasters, microwaves. I mean, it's the infection is spreading, so it's unfortunate.
So
Yeah, they don't have antivirus either. Like the refrigerator's never going to have an automatic antivirus scan at 1 a.m. that will remove the malware off of the refrigerator or off of the espresso maker. It doesn't have that.
But see, that costs money and can't have that.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm gonna share my screen. Oh, well, the host disabled participant screen sharing. Could you, or do you want me to send you this and then you can share it?
Try again. Okay. Be working.
Here we go. One. Okay.
All
Can you see,
right. Perfect.
can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right. So, as I said before, I am a cloud engineer in AWS. My title is professional systems engineer. And doing right now we're doing DevOps, like a mix of DevOps and system administration. And that's really how I came to Michael, is it?
Yes, sir.
Is that the one I've been talking to on Facebook?
Yes, sir. That's me.
All right. So Michael had posted, oh, do you have anybody who wants to be a speaker for our club? And I was like, oh yeah, I'm a cloud engineer. I don't mind coming. And he was like, bet. So here I am. I made a little PowerPoint presentation. I cannot do UI, UX. My user interfaces are command line. If I have to program anything, that's just going to be command line or it's fully automated. Nobody gets to see it. Everybody sees the end result, but nobody gets to see what the mess that goes on behind it. So I apologize if this PowerPoint presentation isn't too great, but we'll talk through it. Let's see, and of course I can't. Let's see. How do I go to the next slide? Okay, here we go. So first off, what is DevOps, right? DevOps is a set of philosophies that aim to bridge the gap between development, which is the dev, and then our operations team, the operation ops. What the core of DevOps is going to be emphasizing that automation and, like it says here, continuous integration and continuous delivery, especially the automation part. Right now in AWS, I'm responsible for 1,000 servers. And if I were to have to log into each and every one of them to configure it, that ain't going to happen. I'd quit. I'll tell you that much right now. There is no way that I, or even a team of people, can go into 1,000 servers all one by one and do stuff. And the 1,000 servers is like peanuts compared to some other teams that have to deal with 10,000, 100,000. How can you scale up if you're just doing manual stuff? And that's where DevOps, that's where the automation piece of DevOps comes in. They've got this little infinity symbol here. The continuous integration, continuous delivery part. If I got a developer that submits a change into GitHub, what's the fastest way we can get it into production? And that goes between, you code it, they're going to build it, it's going to test, release, deploy, operate, and monitor. So when he builds it, it goes into GitHub, and then Jenkins will see, or at least the tools that we use is GitHub and Jenkins. And since we're Windows centric, these are going to deploy onto Windows servers. We're not serverless because we use some code that's specific to a very, it's a .NET program. So I don't think we haven't looked into making it serverless using like the AWS tools. I couldn't even name them because I don't know. So my focus is getting it from GitHub onto our Windows servers. So they code it, Jenkins will build it, it gets tested automatically, and then it gets released onto production and deploy. And then we'll operate, the application or the servers or serverless or whatever containers, wherever it's hosted at. And then we have monitoring tools to make sure that it stays working. And then the next part, plan. How are we going to make the next iteration possible? Or what are we going to put next? We follow it we don't truly follow DevOps philosophy, because our customers are a little resistant to change. So they got to go through a whole, like, they have to test before we can push it out to production. But that code, build, test, cycle and release onto our dev machines is fully automated. I was working on a Jenkins job, a little program that it's already set up. If a developer deploys code to GitHub, Jenkins will see that, and then it'll push out that change onto a brand new Windows machine. That job was failing, so then I had to go and see what happened. Thankfully, it wasn't too bad. I only had to spend an hour or two fixing it as opposed to like 10 hours. Ended up being a simple change that I ended up doing to the environment code, and the infrastructure as code that I changed wasn't correct, and so it was corrected. The DevOps principles, I took this straight from Google Images. It's individual empowerment, investing in automation, processing and tooling, goals and measures, and continuous learning. So for example, investing in automation, processing, tooling, like I've said before, if I want to deploy out to 100, 300,000 customers that each get, 10 servers, how am I then going to automate pushing out to 30,000 servers? Not a single team on this planet can do it manually perfectly. Now they could probably do it, and then like the old saying, an infinite amount of monkeys given an infinite amount of time will end up writing Shakespeare. But customers won't want to sit there for an infinite amount of time. We have to get it out, and it has to be correct, and it has to be in a usable state. Goals and measures, how do we define success? It's not just, the server came up and it works, 90% of the time. 90% of the time, I'm not a math person, so it's probably going to be incorrect. But at 90% of the time, over 30,000 servers, that's still a high margin of error. The continuous learning, I have to at least on the team that I'm on now, and I'll get to it in a little bit throughout this presentation, I have to know the whole width of what we do in our environment. And it gets better depending on the culture of the company, where you have siloed teams that do a certain thing and that's all they do, and then another team does something different. But everybody has to continuously learn the new processes, new technologies. Did the compiler make a change, and now you've got to change your code to fit that or something. I'm going through it right now, but I do vulnerability management for the product that I'm on, and a different product where they've got some old programs, and now they have to change their code in order to fix that vulnerability because they can't use the program that they've relied on for years. The individual empowerment would be, I'm a developer, and then I can see my changes in real time rather than I'm sitting at the computer, I'm waiting for it to compile, and then I gotta go and test it, make sure, I screwed it up. Now I gotta go back 3 hours later, finally get to test again. Now, if I hit a button, in 10, 15 minutes, it's building me a server, and I can actually mess around with it. And if I need to make changes, or do my little changes, push it up to GitHub, get a peer reviewer to approve it. Now another server is being built, and I don't have to wait on somebody. You go to the operations team and be like, hey, I need a server, and then 3, 6, 9 even days later, because they might be busy, right? That way it's there for them when they need it, not when eventually somebody will get to it. So the tools and processes of DevOps, and this is real bright. So in DevOps, you got a wide range of tools that make it all possible. And it all goes back into automation and continuous improvement and continuous delivery. In order to deploy out 10,000 servers at a push of a button, the way that we've been doing it and the way that the DevOps say is that infrastructure is code. If you ever heard of like Terraform, and others, I do Terraform, so I'm very familiar with Terraform. If I tell Terraform, hey, I want a server C5 2X, which is 8 processes, 8 processors, 8 cores, 16 gigabytes of RAM on my server with 2 network cards and a public IP. It's got this key with the name of whatever, all the different things. The ultimate state, I don't care how it's built as long as the ultimate state matches what I told it. And that's infrastructure as code. Or version control, like GitHub is one of them. We use GitHub, so that's what I'm familiar with. If I make a change into our repository and it's broke, I can revert it. Or if somebody else goes in and screws it all up, I can say, oh, I can blame them. This is what happened, which actually happened a couple days ago. And then, I can go in and fix it. I can revert back to that state. Whereas if it wasn't for version control, oh, now I got to go find the files that it was pointing to before and try to figure out how can I get it back to the state it was. One click of a button, boom, it's back. The CI/CD pipeline, I was referring to Jenkins. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Jenkins or not, but basically, we use it as an automation process. It's got a fancy GUI, and you can do whatever it is that you want to do as long as you can code it. Because if you can code it, it natively runs Java Groovy, but you can also drop into command line or PowerShell or Python or Bash or all the others. And I'm sure there's a lot. They got different mods that you can do. That does all sorts of stuff. So we use Jenkins to update all of our servers. It repaves, which repaving means, we tear up the servers that's currently existing and then we build new ones. We run reports, we audit, it looks out for version updates. If GitHub has a push, oh, I'm gonna go out and build a new server for the developer that's working on it. Orchestration, that'd be like Kubernetes, Docker. How can I get this workload across 300 machines, but I don't want to take care of 300 machines. I want to take care of one. So then you let the little orchestrator figure out how it runs the 300 machines as opposed to you running the 300 machines. Monitoring logging, we use Elk, Elastic, Logstash, and Kibana. And it just monitors stuff. So like the metrics, like CPU usage, memory usage, network usage, whatever. And then you can also, push event logs and use it as a security information event and management. You can do a whole lot with it. And you can also create rules so that if, let's say, one of your database servers goes up to 100% CPU and it's been there for like 5 minutes, that would indicate a problem. Then it can send you a message, hey, I've got a problem, or this server has a problem. And the last but not least is the security, which isn't, this goes into that DevSecOps. I don't know, they keep adding words to, or they keep adding acronyms. DevSecOps, DevOps with security. I don't know what it means. It's crazy. Every day is something new, is what it is. But we all have to think, we got 10,000 servers and they're all vulnerable to whatever, right? They're all exposed to the internet. Then something's eventually is going to happen. We see it with MGM, which we talked about. Raptoni, we talked about. You can go on the news and you can find countless companies that's been hacked. Colonial Pipeline, Equifax, Sony, you name it, it's out there. Yeah, it has to be like front and center. And if it's not, you're going to have a bad time. The benefits of DevOps. we got faster delivery, improved quality, collaboration, scalability, and cost efficiency. Faster delivery, if I click a button 30 minutes later, I'm going to be testing it myself, or it's going to be ready for testing. Then I can get a report, bring it to my boss. Hey, my little change is ready to go. Improved quality. I don't have to wait around to see if my change is broke, or did operations screw it up when they were setting it up. 10,000 servers can be built exactly the same in a matter of however much processing power you want to give it. So as an example, we churn through I don't know, a good 300-400 non-production servers in about a 4-hour period. We can increase that by giving more processing power to our Jenkins server. But right now, 4 hours, 300 servers, and they're all built exactly the same. Collaboration. And I got this off the internet, so I don't quite, the internet and where I got this from says that you can, it gives you a better ability to communicate effectively with all these other teams. But at the end of the day, if it's automated, you don't have to communicate. Before, I'd have to go, if I was a developer, I'd have to go to operations. Hey, I want this server built. And they would go out and build it. Or worse, they'd sit on it until, whenever they got ready to do it. And then it would be done. Even before that, when we had to do punch cards, I haven't had to do punch cards, thankfully. But I have had to work with some people. I worked at a bank down in Charlotte, and they were working the time of punch cards, and they physically have to bring their punch cards to the little operator. Hey, I need you to load this. And then like 6 hours later, he'd get the results. You don't have to do that anymore because it's all automated. The scalability, if I'm running 5 servers and I tell my infrastructure as code, hey, I want 10,000 servers, then, all 10,000 of them are going to be built. It's just at the drop of a hat. The cost efficiency. This is a big one. If I have 10,000 servers I need to deploy, if I'm doing that manually, there's going to be a high margin of error because we're all human and we're going to make human mistakes. And some of them are costly, some of them are not. I actually experienced that the other day where we almost had a big cost because of a human error, but thankfully we didn't mean to. That's where the cost efficiency comes from. If something is down because somebody messed up, then that's costing the company money because the customer is all upset and they want to go and they want to do all this. They want to complain. It'd be a big mess. But if you devote automation to it, then it'll be very hard to mess up with automation. It does it exactly the same over and over and over again. So the next one, this is what I was talking about a little bit. The corporate culture, we have siloed teams and then an all-in-one team. With a siloed team, you have, this person or this team devoted to its cloud support. And then you have this team devoted to networking. This team's devoted to making the images that the cloud team's going to use. And then you have the VPN team. And then you have the security team. Then you have this and that. And all the other teams have one specific function and they do it extremely well because they do it in their day-to-day lives. That's all they do. So if I'm on the networking team, all I'm going to be doing networking 100% of the time. Since we're a cloud company and all this is in the cloud. So I'm responsible for the networks, subnets, how it all communicates. And I'm never going to be touching a server. And if I have to, it's very rarely. However, if I'm on, the security team, I may be responsible for writing policies, procedures, making sure the tools are working and everything else. I don't have to worry about networking because that's somebody else's job. Where on the other hand, you've got an all-in-one team. The one team is responsible for everything: networking, security, systems, you name it, if it's in the environment, that one team is solely devoted to it. And whatever tasks come up will be the responsibility of that one single team. And you better hope that the team, that all-in-one team, has the knowledge to do all the things that need to be done, or else you're gonna have a bad time. Because that environment with an all-in-one team stays up, it's dependent on the people taking time off. And it's a little sad, but I mean, it works, right? Because you don't have these random people who don't know the environment going in, making changes. This one team, all the other teams do it differently. You come in, you make a change, and it's all messed up because we don't follow the company policy. So DevOps, if you're in a DevOps role, you may not strictly be doing your true like DevOps. You're making automation and you're writing code and you do all the fun stuff. You know, you could still be a network person. You could still be a security guy. You still could be the system administrator doing system administration stuff, doing help desk stuff. Actually, the other day, when I'm in the office, I do the desktop support stuff. So I wear a lot of hats, and you know, unfortunately, one of those is wiring the desks. Make sure the monitors turn on. I mean, that's some crazy stuff. But you know, hey, it works out because at the same time, you go back to that continuous learning. You know, it all flows back to what if I'm doing this, how can I break this down and use this in my DevOps function? So like I was saying, with all-in-one team, not everything is fun and games if you're a DevOps person. You got vulnerability management, image factory is, you know, what will the base server look like if you know, if I deploy 10,000 servers, what's going to be on those servers? Am I going to be configuring everything that it needs across everything that all the servers have a commonality in? Am I going to be building that every time the server comes up? Or am I just going to be building what that specific function is going to do? The network administration, you know, is that server going to be able to talk to the internet? Is that server going to be able to talk to other servers? Is the customers going to be able to talk to our servers? System administration is, you know, just like a regular system administrator. You know, something's broke on the servers, and you got to go and fix it. Now, in DevOps, if it's all automated, it's called, you know, treat the servers as cattle, not pets. And what that means is if I've got a server that's acting up, instead of going in and fixing it, I'm just going to terminate it. I'm just going to delete it and then build a new one. I don't particularly wish or care what exactly is the root cause of what's going on. You know, I can just build a new server. If I have 10,000 servers and 5 of them are acting up, as opposed to, I'm going to handle that differently than if I have, you know, 10 servers and 5 of them are acting up, or if half of them are acting up. I'm just going to delete it and move on. Application support. You may be as a DevOps person, or really any job in IT, you may be called upon to do other stuff. So in the role that I'm in, I used to be an application support analyst before I got this job. So I'm still called upon to do the application support stuff. Is the application itself broken? Not on a server level, but on the application itself. Is there a configuration problem that makes it to where it's not working any longer? Or is the data within the database not correct? You know, does it somehow have an A instead of a 1? Or is it, you know, alphanumeric instead of numeric? Then I've got to log into the database and correct that. Or I've got to log into the database and change the configuration point because I can't even access the application. So just because you're in DevOps and just because you're a cloud engineer or just because you're whatever, right? You're CEO. There are some CEOs that still, sit there and write code. Yeah, more famous example, not really a CEO. He's probably like a manager, lead manager was the one, I can't remember his name, but he was at Nintendo and he was working on Smash Bros and Pokemon and everything else. But he was a manager as his job, and he was lead manager or something like that. But he was still writing code, and he was still up all hours of the night doing what he needed to do in order to get the product finished. So just because you're a DevOps person, don't mean you ain't going to be sweeping the data center. Actually, that's a good point. Because I was told by our server architects, I used to work at a data center. If you can't be trusted to sweep the data center floor, how are you ever going to be trusted to actually handle the servers? If you want to whine, grind, and complain that you doing all this menial, piddly-ding stuff, how can I be assured that you're going to do the job correctly? And that's a big, not really a big problem, but some people that is a big problem, because I'm hired to do this one job and that's exactly what I'm going to do. It all goes back to that continuous learning. I tell you that there have been more opportunities for me because I will go above and beyond my job description to fix the problem than if I said, that's somebody else's problem. I've been afforded more latitude in what I do because the management knows that if I screw it up, I can fix it. I can get myself out of predicament that I've ended up the situation being. And it could be whatever, right? So you just got to be careful.
What if you feel unsure about, let's say, something, and you just feel like it should be better done by someone else? Are you gonna go out of your way to try and learn that thing, or would you just delegate it to someone else? Not because, it's not in your job description, but because you're unsure and you feel like you might cause more problems than you would if you just had someone else do it.
So it depends. If it's something that if it's a production impacting, or it could be a production impacting event, like say I don't exactly know how to do work on a database, and I know that our database servers are treated as pets, which means that if that server is babied to where it's hand managed, if it goes down, then we gotta hand create it. Then I'll be like, well, I'm not comfortable doing this. However, I'm gonna go. I already know who on the team handles that work. I'm gonna go to them and I'll say, hey, I don't know how to do this, but I want to learn. And that way you can watch them do it, or they can walk you through it. And then you'll know how to do it after that. And
Right.
What's that?
That makes sense. Just still use it as an opportunity. If you know someone can fix it, use it as an opportunity to learn how to fix it yourself.
Exactly. And that way that shows other people, hey, this person really wants to learn how to do stuff. We should give them more responsibility in order to be able to learn it, as opposed to, I know this person does does server administration stuff, and that's all he does, and he does it well. Okay, that's all fine and dandy, but you're not going to pick that person to do some other special project relating to building up a new VPN, because that's not server administration. That's more network engineering.
And he doesn't seem interested in it, or is trying to study for a certification for it.
What was that?
Well, he's not interested in it, and you don't know he's studying for certification for it, and you just don't, you know that he doesn't know anything about it,
Hmm.
right?
Well, it's not that he doesn't know anything about it. It's more that he displays the attitude that he doesn't want to learn it.
Okay,
And that's a big distinction, because I can take, and I have taken, I used to, when I was doing mainframe operations, I was the one training the new hires. The way that we had it, we had 12-hour shifts broken up into two parts of the week. So the front half of the week worked Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and every other Wednesday. The back half of the week worked Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, and every other Wednesday. And I worked on the back half of the week during the day shift, because it was 12-hour shifts. So what I always told them is, all right, you learned how to do the work with the front half. Well, that's all fine and dandy. You want to follow the process, you go right on ahead. And I implore you to do that. However, you're not going to advance unless you know why you're pressing those buttons, unless you know why the program or the job or whatever failed. That was our job, monitor the jobs, monitor the programs. If it failed, you type up kind of a little bit what happened, and then you call up the person responsible for the program or the job and be like, hey, your job failed. You got to take care of it. What I said when I was interviewing for the mainframe job down in Charlotte was, as a computer operator, because that's what they're called, it's one thing to call up the developer and say, hey, your job failed, and the error code is SB34 is an example, or SB37. Another thing is for you to get a call from the computer operator, hey, your job failed, SB37. Do you want me to add some more space to your little file and rerun the job? At 3 a.m, well, which one do you want to hear? You already know, as a developer, that SB37 means that the file that you tried to write was too big for what it was allocated for. If it's in the middle of the night, at least me as a developer, I would want the other person to say, oh, this is what happened. This is how it's going to be fixed. I already know how to fix it. So he's going to do exactly what I'm going to do if I had to get out of bed. That way, I don't have to get out of bed, which then shows them that you're competent enough to do it. What I would always do is every time the job failed and I didn't know why it failed, I would reach out to them. Hey, could you tell me why your job failed? And then they would tell me. And then that way, I put it in the back of my mind, oh, it failed because of this, and these were the symptoms. So next time I know, and the next time I can tell them, this is what happened, and this is how we can fix it. Does that answer your question?
yeah,
So another piece of the DevOps, the more like the system administration stuff, is the vulnerability management and vulnerability mitigation. Let's say a big one that just happened was the 0 day for Microsoft Office, where they didn't, the 0 day came out. It was like the beginning of the month. They didn't have a patch. Microsoft didn't have a patch for it, but they did say, oh, if you do this registry change, then the thing will go away. Well, I know that on our servers we don't have Office, but if you look on Microsoft's advisory board, WordPad of all things is vulnerable. Now, I think to myself, how can WordPad be vulnerable? But it is. I'm not going to sit there and argue with Microsoft, and I'm surely not going to argue with the information security manager, whose sole job is to make sure we don't get hacked and we don't get blown to pieces. So then I have to figure out how to get a registry change on to 10,000 machines, or in our case, 1,000 machines. So even though this vulnerability management and mitigation is strictly, system based, we can use the DevOps tools and practices to resolve these things. And like it says here, someone eventually has to deal with these, whether or not you put the patch into your image and then you put the image onto all these servers, or you go out and you hand touch all 10,000 machines. Someone's got to go out there and do it. So the next part, image factory. Like I said, image factory is you build an image that goes on to all 10,000 of your servers. This has all the tools necessary so that only a little bit of time is spent actually installing stuff. Someone's got to do it. Now, this part isn't really required if you're just strictly doing serverless stuff like AWS, was it Lambda functions and stuff, other stuff. I don't know. And I couldn't tell you all the serverless technologies out there. I know one of them I do know one of them. It's FSX, the file share from AWS. That's one of Amazon's offerings, where instead of having a hard drive attached to a server, you just let Amazon handle how that hard drive is taken care of. They just give you a folder path and you do what you want with it. That way I don't have to maintain however many folder shares there are. The next piece, network administration, network engineering. You can put billions of dollars into this nice, beautiful environment, but if it has no networking, ain't no point into it. Somebody or something has to go and either tell the infrastructure how to build this, or you have to do it yourself. That, somebody's going to have to do it, and eventually it has to be done, and it has to be done by somebody. The same thing for system administration. You built this beautiful network, and ain't nobody going to get into it, and nobody's going to get into it because there's no servers. There's nothing behind your networking. All the routes point to nothing. Somebody or something has to go and build it. Same thing for application support. You put this nice, beautiful network in, the nice, beautiful servers in, you made it all fancy, but nothing's running on it. So, what's the point in having it? It goes down to application support. Okay, well, you put a application onto these servers. Somebody has to take care of them. And then on the other hand, the database administration. Somebody eventually has to take care of the databases. If you're on a siloed team, all of those things are handled by one individual team. You will have a database administration team, or you will have an application support team, or you will have a system administration, system engineering team, network engineering team, network administration team. You'll have the image factory team. You'll have the vulnerability management team, the vulnerability mitigation team. But if you're in a company that has an all-in-one team, then you, as a DevOps engineer who's really responsible for scaling up the environment, will be doing all this other stuff. The application support, the database support, the system support, the network support, all of it has got to be done. And if it's not siloed, then it falls on one team. And if you follow that continuous learning model, you will eventually learn. You'll be a jack of all trades, where you can do the database administration, you can do the application support, you can do the network support, you can do the system administration support, because you know how to do it. And while that's great for you, that ain't really great for the company, because if you take time off and something breaks, well, you're gonna be working on your time off. And that is, thankfully, that hasn't happened to me. And we averted, our database administrator guy he's going on PTO, and we almost had to had to tell him, be like, look, you be close to one of the offices, or you be close to your computer while you're on PTO, because we might need you. But at the end of the day, I mean, that's how it is. If the team is set up that way, then that's life. But while you may have to work a whole lot of hours, and you be exposed to all sorts of stuff, that's really great for your career, because you're exposed to all of it, as opposed to, okay, well, I know Windows, but I've never worked on Linux. So, how do I bridge that gap? I may be a 5 in Windows, but I'm like a 0 in Linux because I ain't never touched it before. Or I may be a super spectacular network engineer, but I ain't never touched Windows. If you're on an all-in-one team, I've done networking, I've done Windows, I've done Linux, I've done DevOps, I've done cloud, I've done all of it. And you have options should you get let go, or should you go somewhere else. You are not siloed into something. Now, I'll tell you that the team that I'm on is an all-in-one team. And what I have seen, and what I've talked to the guy previous to me, where on our team, we've got one person that does one thing, we got one person that does another thing, but then we have an all-in-one person. And that all-in-one person is responsible for everything that goes on in the environment. It's hard to teach somebody something they don't want to learn. And it works out great for somebody who really wants to learn it all to be on an all-in-one team, because they can. On the flip side of that, if you want to go in and do one specific thing, then you're not going to function well on an all-in-one team. So that is DevOps, but then that's also everything else that comes along with DevOps. That's anything in the IT world. And that really could be generalized. And you've got you got a company that wants to hire you to do cloud administration. That's all they want you to do. As opposed to, well, if you look at the job description, they talk about networking, they talk about servers, they talk about this, and they talk about that, and it's all generalized. Then that if you really like to learn, you are going to fit in way more on that job description, where it's everything, and that you can be exposed to everything, and the sky is the limit. So that is my little presentation on the cloud engineering and what I do. I do a lot. My experience is unlike anything in the company, really, because the company culture is more siloed. And I'm thankful for being on one of the few teams that is all in one. We do our own work, we house our own environment, and nobody outside of the teams in our adjacent teams work on it. So somebody from corporate can't come in and say, oh, this is how we're going to fix it. Well, no, you can't do that. And we've had problems where people have tried to do that, and it didn't work for our environment. So when you get into an all-in-one team, we're very tight-knit. If somebody comes in and tries to tell us, there's a lot of pushback, because that's not how it's been. And even if we wanted to do that, we don't really have the expertise to do it that way. We have the general knowledge, but if you want us to use one specific product, then, we can learn it, but we've already got all these tools. We already have a mature environment. We already set up our own monitoring. We are already doing our own security and this and that. It's a different world. And it's a different world, and you would be surprised at how different it can be, depending on what type of culture you end up in. So with that, any questions? I know I talked about a lot of things, and I could go on for a lot more.
If anyone online has any questions, we have 4 participants, well, including myself and speaker, go right ahead, anyone in person. If not, I guess one of my first questions would be, in terms of getting into, I guess, breaking into the field of cybersecurity. I hear so many things. I hear, get your A plus, get the network, the trifecta. Others say, just go for the security plus cert. What would you recommend, I guess, in terms of having, say, certifications, having things on your resume, things you can display to employers that they can look at and their eyes are gonna ball up saying, oh, we want you, we want you. What would you say you would recommend?
So it's hard. It's hard to say, oh, you get this certification and you get into cybersecurity. In my opinion, is cybersecurity is not an entry level field, because I was told by a recruiter one day, how can you be expected to secure stuff when you don't know how the network is made, or you don't know what the systems do? What I would say, and I didn't have a degree for the longest. I've got an associate's degree. I just finished last year. I didn't have any certifications. I had the A plus and Network Plus when I started out, but I was working with people who didn't have that, so it didn't really matter. But if you want to start out in cybersecurity, just having the knowledge, the Security Plus is good. That shows employers that you have that knowledge, as opposed to, well, you don't have any certifications, you don't really have any experience. It's a little bit of a risk to hire them. So we'll have to go with somebody else, as opposed to, oh, well, he's got the Security Plus, he might not have the experience, but at least he can show that he at least knows a little bit, and he's willing to learn it at least. If you're already working for a company, that I see a lot, especially in that Facebook group, is if you start out in the help desk, you start out in system administration, it's an easy path to get into cybersecurity. And the way that I did was, that continuous learning where, I may have been doing help desk, but may have been just writing tickets. But then I go to the server administrator, hey, I know I made a ticket for this. How did you fix it? And then, this is how you do it. What it really boils down to is who you know instead of what you know and what you have. If you already have a relationship with a hiring manager through maybe internship or through networking or online or whatever, right? The competitions, and you show them that you're willing to work and you're willing to learn, that is a lot better than, I go out, I get my certifications, I have this, I have that. But at the end of the day, that you have to convince that hiring manager to say, this is who we want. And a piece of paper is not it. That's not the end of the line. Does that answer your question?
Perfect.
I believe that there is I know Cisco has I think they have some labs on their site. There's a lot of like hacking things, where some people, they make websites for the sole purpose of you hacking them and understanding it. And whenever you do that, you can throw that on your resume. It's like, I'm capable of hacking into websites, even though you get a test environment for it, but you are effectively capable of hacking into websites from that learning experience, which basically also lets you know that you would know how to patch it. I know Cisco does have labs. Cisco has their own certifications too. So you can get your Security Plus, but depending, they might also want a Cisco certification or something else. But either way, it's kind of interchangeable. But what it comes down to is, if you do a lot of these labs, or you do some of these, people make stuff for you to hack it, and if you do that, you can really show your knowledge on it and put that on your resume. And even though it is a lab, it was a test environment, you still have the experience in, doing like an SQL injection into a website to get it the admin permission. You know, you still have that experience, you know how to run that kind of attack.
Well, here at UHCO, when you take cybersecurity 1 and 2, you get Cisco certifications. Because I know for cybersecurity 2, you have to get an 80 or higher to get it, but you still get your certifications. And yeah, it is kind of just showing, yeah, I know how to do it. So that's what I've even heard with other people who have spoken and other people I've watched online, where they say that there's some people are like anti boot camps, like they don't know boot camps because all boot camps do is shove knowledge down your throat to pass a test, but not to retain the information.
Forget it.
Yeah, like just
Mm.
learn all the information to pass the test, and then you'll basically forget it. And that's the one downside here when it comes to certifications, like how some people perceive it. But if you are learning it and then you can display that you retain that knowledge, then that certification definitely gets solidified, because it's not, oh, he has a piece of paper. It's okay, that's actually a badge of merit. Like he
Mhm.
knows what he's doing and he's able to display it outside of the testing zone, but also in a real world environment.
And to quickly add on to that, the certification, if you complete that experience, you would hear about, is called the Cisco Certified Cyber Ops Associate certification.
Yeah, they got all these certifications. All these companies are hopping on the bandwagon of certifications. You know, you got Cisco, you got Juniper, you got AWS, GCP, and Microsoft, and all these others. Like, goodness, it's like, you know, where does it end? If you want me to get a piece of paper saying that, you know, I can work on Juniper equipment, then yeah, that's fine and dandy. But to your point, if I show you I got Juniper equipment behind me, but I ain't got no certification, and then I can talk about it at length, then that's gonna be a whole lot better than, oh, I just got this little piece of paper and that was the end of it.
Before we go into the certification thing, because so for my A plus, I understood, like I will, obviously I have like an IT background, I know all this stuff. I had to, one of the things I didn't know nothing about is someone like the helping people work through problems, and also printers. And I retained no knowledge on printers because I studied it for a week. You know, I didn't spend time learning printers really. I didn't retain that knowledge of printers. I basically just studied for a week and then took my A plus certification and got it. So you really can't retain that information. It's not possible.
And that's what boot camps are
Exactly.
nefarious for doing.
That's, you know, and sometimes these boot camps they'll say, and this is why, like, you know, you can't really trust them as well. They'll probably also say that they'll like help get you a job afterwards, but how's that a guarantee?
Yeah.
You know, because I'm pretty sure a lot of these places they get people out of these boot camps, and then they realize they don't retain any of the information. So how can they continuously get people jobs? It doesn't add up.
That, and usually the jobs they do get are desk help, very low
Yeah.
entry level, hourly pay, no salaries, sometimes not even full-time jobs, they're part-time. And I mean, everyone starts somewhere, but if you really want to get into the field, it definitely is, you have to put in the work, and you actually have to display that you're capable of doing the things. You can't just go get your piece of paper certification and boast as if you're some expert, and then they ask you to go on Linux, Arch Linux or Ubuntu, and start writing scripts or whatnot, or setting up networks, and you don't know how to do any of that, even though your paper might say you do. If you can't display it, and your paper is meaningless at the end of the day.
Heck, they could probably just say, they could open up Linux and they'll say, all right, install Google Chrome. And even that takes steps. the average person who just uses Windows doesn't understand. They just run an exe installer. They don't understand, app sudo did update, any of that. They don't understand they have to do that to get the.
And that, so right now, we've got some contractors that are billed to us as, cloud engineers, system engineers. And we go and ask them, hey, I need a new Jenkins server. Takes them 4 weeks, if that. And what they came back with, because I had to peer review it, and I'm like, this ain't going in production. I hope you know that. Like it was copy and paste. And even that, like some people mess it up, and I'm like, goodness, how can you mess up copy and paste? But people do, and they won't ever realize it if they've never done it. And that's the hardest part about cybersecurity is it's not a true entry level job. I do very well at the job that I have because I have the knowledge and experience from all the years that I spent, learning from other people or doing it myself. I would not be able to perform at the level I am if I didn't have that previous experience. And it was just a natural progression that I'm in cybersecurity, and the job doesn't even call for it.
And I'd like to add one thing that I've been told by some folks that is really key, it's really fundamental, is not only getting a good job in cybersecurity, but also keeping a good job in cybersecurity. And that is simply networking, getting to know people that are in the field, especially if, let's say, you want to, work for Google, Amazon, Microsoft, Apple, Tesla. It's amazing and it's helpful to have someone who you can, rely upon or call upon, who's there currently, and can definitely, even help you get the job. They can even refer you. They can say, hey, boss, he's a great friend from college. He helped me greatly. He'll get the job done. He'll be on time. He'll be sharp. Can definitely be a helper. That's another big aspect.
Yeah, I mean but that's true for any job. It goes back to what I was saying. It's who you know, not what you know. You could be like a F student dropped out of school and whatever, but if you're the CEO's family friend, then of course you're getting that job. No matter what job it is, you're gonna get it.
They'll make you the CIO even if you're that close.
Right? Just look at Elon Musk. He's the owner of Twitter, what now X, and it's been a clown show ever since. But he had the money, so he bought him out. Now he's just the boss, and he can do what he wants. And it's all because he knew a bunch of investors, and he already had Tesla, and they were willing to throw money at him, and now he's the owner of X.
Pierce, if you have any questions or anything, go on right ahead, because we are, a little bit over the time.
It's very interesting because I'm about to head out, but it's also interesting the same amount of money he spent to buy Twitter and to easily develop his own platform. And if he could have made it better than Twitter, then it would have been better. People would have moved over to it.
Yeah, it's crazy. Pierce, you were gonna say something?
Honestly, I have no questions. It was a great presentation. This is actually my first time dealing with the cybersecurity with the committee here, so yeah, I like the meeting and I'm looking forward to the others. But the one comment I do want to make is, when I did my IT thing up in the city of Dallas, and like you had mentioned, even though you're the cybersecurity, other people are going to see you as the IT guy. So people are going to come to you with stuff that's not related to your job title. It's just, and another thing with jobs is what I've seen is, definitely have the qualifications, the experience, but also the communication skills. working well in the office, it's kind of like the whole saying where it's like, if you want to be a leader, you need to learn how to follow. And so just be charismatic, be engaging, and have that, like gonna help others to the best of my abilities to mindset. So, but no, other than that, I have no questions.
One thing to add, not only the communication skills, but the willingness to learn.
Yes,
Because
that is.
when I was training people, those people had no IT skills whatsoever. I don't even know how they were hired, to be honest with you. But they came out cashiers or call center people or whatever, right? And I was at the end of the 2 weeks, they knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
And slowly like teaching them assembly. Because
Yeah, that is, that is extremely crucial. I know one of the professors at UHCL at Pagan, he told us that he came to the US and he started off as a Applebee's dishwasher, but he had the willingness to learn, and now he has his master's degree in computer engineering. So I mean, if you have the ability to learn, you can go anywhere in life.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, I think that concludes our meeting. I just wanted to give yet another thanks to you, Mr. Tucker, for making time on this awesome Friday to be able to speak with us. And a big thanks to each and every person who is here in person, who's online watching this, and who's going to be doing this at a later time. I want to say big thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I appreciate it. And good luck. I will send Michael. You've got Michael, is that your name?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm gonna send you my LinkedIn profile. You've got my email address and you've got my Facebook. You're welcome to share it out. Anybody who wants to connect. Yeah. Love to see where y'all go.
Sir, thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I appreciate everybody's time. Y'all have a good weekend.
You too.
You as well.